With the total solar eclipse now just 1 month away, many Ohioans are preparing for the big day on April 8th, and this is especially true of local businesses that will see a boom to business as a result of eclipse tourism. Now, in this week, we are going to break down the impacts to tourism and just how many folks are expected to flock to Ohio and a number of other states to witness totality with this amazing total solar eclipse. We can look back on data from 2017, the so-called Great American Eclipse, gives us an idea of what to expect this year and also what experts are projecting as far as the eclipse tourism numbers and the impacts that'll have to our local economy here. So let's break down the numbers, and you can subscribe for more eclipse related content at WTOL.com/email for the latest each and every week. Now, looking back on 2017, that gives us a good clue as to what you can expect this time around, except experts anticipate that 2024 is going to see an even bigger spectacle nationwide due to that path of totality occurring in more densely populated areas and bigger cities across the country. Approximately 215 million Americans witnessed the 2017 total solar eclipse, and that includes those that lived in the path of totality and also traveled to witness totality. Now, some states experienced some incredible economic boom as a result of the eclipse. South Carolina in particular in 2017 saw $270 million in local revenue with 1.6 million tourists to the state. Now, South Carolina was in the sweet spot during the 2017 total solar eclipse, and Ohio actually has over double the population of South Carolina. So it is plausible that Ohio sees this sort of number, if not a greater financial impact as a result of the eclipse. Now, experts anticipate this time around at least 31 million who live in the path of totality will spectate, and that is research from the Great American Eclipse organization. However, there could be even more that come from other states and even other countries and continents to spectate and see the eclipse as well. To give you just an idea of how big tourism is going to be in 2024, one really interesting way of putting it is, imagine this, not just one Super Bowl, not just two, but 50, yes, 50, that are occurring across the country at the exact same time. In terms of the sheer number of people witnessing this event, that is what the numbers reflect. The high-end estimates of eclipse tourism just for the U.S. alone pinpoint this event to be approximately the equivalent of 50 Super Bowls occurring across the country at the same time. And that doesn't even include areas in Canada and Mexico that will also be on the path of totality in addition to the United States. So what about our local impacts here at home? Well, there are mathematical models that have been programmed to project these numbers for 2024 using ArcGIS software models. These numbers give us a range or an estimate as to what Ohioans can expect in April 8th, 2024. Now, on the lower end of that range, 125,000 out-of-state tourists are expected, and on the higher end of that range, 500,000 visitors to Ohio as a result of the total solar eclipse. And of course, these numbers are on top of our population here that already lives in the Buckeye State, so a significant influx of tourists is expected on top of those who already live in Ohio. Now, to give you an idea of where the tourist hotspots will be, a lot of these counties that are shaded in red in that centerline totality area, that is where a significant degree of tourism is expected. And for our area, that includes locations like Seneca County that'll be a hotspot for tourism. Erie and Huron counties will be hotspots for tourism, as well as Wyandotte County. Now, the further north and west you go, the less time in totality is expected, and you want to be in this sweet spot right here that is going to be to the south and to the east of the Maumee River. So a lot of populations and a lot of counties right along the Ohio Turnpike are in the prime viewing location right in that center line totality path. Now, it's interesting, these research models actually look at some individual cities that are in the path of totality, and some of those cities happen to lie in our immediate area. Upper Sandusky and Norwalk, these are two areas in the region that will be significantly impacted by the eclipse, with out-of-state tourists and visitors alike. Now, on the upper end of the forecast spectrum, each one of these cities could very well see a six-figure number as far as the number of visitors that travel to the cities. As a result, the Turnpike is going to be very busy, especially if clear skies and sunshine ensue with the weather forecast. For those traveling between Buffalo, Cleveland, and Toledo, the Turnpike is going to be the through route that many take state to find that destination that has the best viewing weather and also the best viewing in terms of its line of totality. And these two cities, Upper Sandusky and Norwalk, that ArcGIS model that I mentioned actually projects a potential tourist influx of 100,000. Now, where will a lot of these tourists be coming from? It is interesting that Ohio is actually an easily accessible state for a number of the eastern and mid-Atlantic region where those states are not necessarily on the path of totality. For instance, some people who live in South and North Carolina up towards Virginia, the quickest route for them to see totality is actually going to be to travel to the Buckeye State. I've outlined states where the quickest route is to go to Ohio, and that includes Michiganders coming south. That also includes folks off to the north and east. Even some people from the nation's capital could very well travel to Ohio during the total solar eclipse. Now, Ohio is not the only state that's going to see a big boom to business. Other smaller states and less populous states like Arkansas are going to see a significant tourist event, and researchers expect that for Arkansas, this very well could be the biggest tourist event in the state's history. The State House of Reps anticipates that 2 million visitors are going to come to Arkansas to witness the total solar eclipse. So projected tourism by state. I want to break it down state by state. Of course, Ohio, I mentioned that range, up to 500,000 tourists is expected. Illinois is also going to see a good deal of tourism, and it's interesting that Illinois fell on the path of totality both in 2017 and in 2024. To our neighbors to the west, the Hoosier State is also going to see a big boom to business with up to 522,000. Now, Texas, very likely for many, is going to be the best spot to view the total solar eclipse, not only due to the path of totality, but also the statistical likelihood of sunshine, and it is possible that over 1 million come to Texas to witness the eclipse. Other states like New York and Pennsylvania could see several 100,000 tourists. Even Vermont we'll see some tourism. And of course, Arkansas, relative to the small size of the state, they are going to see a significant population coming in to witness the event. Now, tourism estimates on the higher end of the spectrum using these computer models, Texas, over 1 million tourists expected, both Indiana and Ohio. On the upper end of the spectrum, 500,000 out-of-state tourists. New York, 386,000. Arkansas is going to see almost as many as New York State, which is interesting. Illinois, Pennsylvania, and Missouri are also on that list. Now, how many people actually reside in these states who will have the opportunity to witness the total solar eclipse? Well, Texas is not only going to see the biggest boom to business in terms of tourists, but also the population. Texas is a very populous state, and major metro areas like Dallas and Austin are going to be in the path of totality. Now, Ohio actually sits at number 2 on that list with 7.3 million Ohioans in that path. Indiana and New York, 3 to 4 million, and you can also see some of these other states. Arkansas has a much lesser population, but will still see a big boom to business as far as tourism is expected. Now, that path of totality, this shows you the states that do have some who will be able to witness totality. And as I mentioned, Ohio has a significant population of individuals who live in that path. Here's a breakdown of those who live in the state who will be able to see the eclipse. Of course, Texas is number 1 atop that list, and the path of totality really goes through the entirety of Texas. Now, some states just barely see the fringes of this. This number is not a typo there for Tennessee. There are only 80 people who live in Tennessee who happen to be in that path, which just barely glimpses the state. Now, of course, the Great Lakes, the lower Great Lakes region in particular, does have a significant population who will be able to see the eclipse. Now, time will tell just how substantial these local impacts are, but one thing's for sure, with that total solar eclipse now just 1 month away, many Ohioans are gearing up and getting excited for that total solar eclipse. Subscribe at WTOL.com/email for the latest eclipse content as we get you ready for the big day, now just a month away.